Hello everyone, and welcome back to my Zero to Hero Challenge, Episode 2. The goal of this challenge is to hit a Mythic Plus rating of 2500 from 0 through the use of Pugs only. Today's primary focus will be testing my limit as to how far I can push a key in Mythic Plus at my current relatively low item level. All of my progress is live streamed every Tuesday on my Twitch and YouTube channel. Please do check that out. We left off last week with a rating of 321 and an item level of 429. Starting off the week, I opened up my Great Vault to see what options I had. As I only did the raid on LFR, the two choices in the top row were a little low on item level for me and not on a high enough upgrade track. This means it's between the two choices on the second tier. I had either a 470 hero track trinket from the Everbloom or a 460 item level boots on the champion track. As the trinket wasn't a particularly good one for Demon Hunter tank, I went with the 460 boots, bringing my item level up slightly to 430. I then completed the Super Bloom event and Worthy Ally quest in the Emerald Dream. The weekly quest for the Super Bloom gifted me a 444 item level axe, which I equipped, and the Worthy Ally quest provided me with a 441 shoulders, which I didn't end up using. With the weekly quest that I wanted to complete out of the way, I started to form a group for my first dungeon, a +9 Atal'Dazar. The affixes for this week are Fortified, Volcanic, and Spiteful. The run was rather uneventful. As it is still quite a low level key, I invited the first players that signed up regardless of item level or Mythic Plus rating, and we 3-chested the key without any deaths throughout the entire dungeon. With the dungeon completed rather quickly, my Mythic Plus rating increased to 465 and my key upgraded into a Vegence Rise +12. I wasn't particularly excited to see Rise again so soon, as 2 out of the 4 dungeons last week were also Rise. Nevertheless, I created a group again, inviting the first few people that joined, but ensuring at least one person was ranged to help with the orbs on the final boss. This run, just like the previous one, went very smoothly. Unfortunately, while clearing the room full of sand, my driver crashed and I had to restart the game, stream and recording. When I came back there was a death, but I couldn't see who had died and assumed it was one of the DPS or the healer. Other than this one unfortunate death, we 2-chested the key and I received some 457 item level braces, which increased my item level up to 433. With this dungeon completed, my rating rose to a total of 560. If it wasn't for my driver problem, I could have likely 3-chested the key, as we lost around 3 minutes to this problem. I'm starting to see a common issue with my driver crashing regularly in Dawn of the Infinite, but I'm not sure of the reason why. However, upon researching it, it seems to be a common issue for people with my graphics card in this particular dungeon. This issue you will see occur again in my next key, and now Galakrond Fall +14. It's the first level where the Spiteful Affix begins to appear. Quite a few things happened throughout this run. The first death of the run was my own, and it was my fault. I forgot about the first boss's Tank Buster ability, which I didn't mitigate properly, causing me to take heavy damage and fall into subsequent auto attacks. I did get rezzed and we finished off the boss. Although here my driver crashed once again just before the boss died. Luckily the boss was so low it didn't matter at this point. I came back and the boss was dead. Clearing around the second boss's room, we had a couple of deaths. On one of the trash packs, the hunter died to an enervate from one of the leeches, followed by the healer that was targeted by a debuff and spiteful ad at the same time, which slowly and eventually killed him. Luckily for me, demon hunters have some incredible self-sustain, and we killed the rest of the packs with no more deaths. Other than these 2 deaths, there were no more until we reached the manifested timeways. This is a very messy boss, owing to people not fully understanding the chrono-faded debuff. Around 45% on the boss, both debuffs expired in the slow quadrant of the boss, causing them to do very large damage as the ring slowly moved out and killed the hunter instantly. Shortly after, with the ring slowly moving coupled with the fragments of time, caused the healer to get killed too. The healer got rezzed after the second set of debuffs were placed on the Death Knight and Warrior. The Death Knight didn't know where to stand and released the ring inside of the slow section once again, which caused the healer to die again. With myself and 2 DPS left, we continued to fight the boss, but the warrior didn't last much longer. For the rest of the fight, it was only me and the Death Knight. I dropped my debuff in the fast zone, but the Death Knight continuously dropped his in the slow zone. Fortunately, we managed to down the boss with only 2 of us remaining. the boss hit such a small amount on the tank that I believe I could solo it if given enough time. With the boss dead, our death count jumped up by 4 to 7 in total. We cleared to the Blight of Galakrond without deaths and started the boss. During the second phase of the fight, the healer got the corrosion debuff, but due to the previous boss, I wasn't too sure if the healer knew how to handle this mechanic or not. So when the Necrotic Winds ability started, I went to collect the debuff from the healer in preparation for the Blight Reclamation ability. Unfortunately, I'd grabbed it just a few seconds too soon and got mind control just before the Blight Reclamation ability went out. Due to this, the boss turned around and began wailing on the warrior, which killed him. Despite the death, we continued on and finished off the boss. I take full responsibility for the warrior's death, as I should have waited a few extra seconds before taking the debuff. With the boss dead, we finished off the last few trash packs and reached Galakrond, whilst being at a total death count of 8. When the boss started, he placed his first ability, an Extinction Blast, onto the warrior. If you get this debuff, you need to stand in the shield that Chromie provides. However, the warrior leaped away in the opposite direction, and just as the cast finished, he moved on top of me, which killed us both instantly. Which in hindsight, I should have moved away from, but didn't realise just how hard the ability hit when not in the shield. This resulted in a wipe, so we began to run back and try the boss again, with the warrior apologising for his mistake. On the second attempt, the Death Knight was targeted by the first Extinction Blast, and he responded correctly by running into the shield that Chromie provides. The warrior, however, remained in range of the ability, proceeding to get one shot again. This also meant we had one less person to soak the boss's next ability, Stonecracker Barrage. This caused Chromie to take more damage and died, which leads to Galakrond to cast his Cataclysmic Obliteration, which kills the whole groups. This is the first time I have ever seen this ability. 2 very easily preventable wipes at the start of the fight so far. Luckily no one left, so we could try a third attempt whilst being at a total of 18 deaths. The third attempt went much better, with everyone managing mechanics as they should be. The boss fell, and we still managed to time the dungeon, increasing the key level by 1, taking my rating up to 560, and my key became a Darkheart Thicket 15. Since the 14 didn't seem too difficult for me to tank, I hoped that the 15 wouldn't be too bad. I couldn't have been more wrong. This dungeon was very messy. The first death occurred on the first pull of the dungeon, a pull with the first 2 packs of the dungeon. As this pack was almost dead, the monk fell to a mixture of leaps from the Night Claws and the poison debuff. Finishing off the pack and the spiteful mobs, we can continue clearing on to the first boss. Our second death occurred on the pack of Crazed Razorbeaks, with the hunter taking the charge from these mobs with his face instantly killing him, a very easily preventable death. Our next set of deaths happened not much longer after this pack. I pulled another double pack, but this would prove to be a little too much for me and died. I could have played better here through the use of playing more defensively. Demon Hunters do feel quite squishy when first pulling. With my death, the group quickly followed and our death count rose to 7. We ran back, killed the pack and the rest of the trash up to the first boss without any more problems. The first boss was a little difficult, owing to the very high damage from the Tank Buster. I was caught off guard with this as it is a fortified week and was not expecting the Tank Buster to hit so hard. I died to the second Tank Buster, which resulted in the group dying, taking us up to 12 deaths before the first boss was dead. We ran back to attempt it again. On the second attempt, I played much more defensively, making sure I had some kind of mitigation or cooldown ready for every single charge. We got the boss down and started clearing towards Oakheart. We only had one death on the way to Oakheart, which was due to the Demon Hunter standing inside the Root Burst ability from the Vilethorn Blossom. Despite all the deaths earlier, we seemed to be making good time, other than this one very easily avoidable death. Oakheart was going well, right until the second set of Uproot. I picked up the mobs and took a rather large hit alongside the Nightmare Breath and died. The rest of the group continued fighting. However, as we had no combat res in this group, it was unlikely that we could kill it from this position. As people fell, for some reason that I cannot understand, the shaman decided here would be the best time to use his Ankh, despite the group being almost dead. This resulted in him dying twice on this boss, bringing our total death counter up to 19. The second attempt went much better. The healer seemed to give me a little bit more love and we killed the boss and began to clear the trash towards Dresseron. However, at this point in time, I think timing the dungeon was no longer going to be possible, as 2 bosses remained, as well as all the trash in between, with only 5 minutes left on the timer. Whilst clearing to Dresseron, the Shaman got hit by both the Blood Bomb and the charge from the Blood-Tainted Fury, which immediately killed him. However, other than this one death, we cleared the rest of the way to Dresseron without issue. Dresseron went very well, with only one death towards the last 20% of the fight, when the monk got a little too close to the front of the boss and was hit by the Breath of Corruption, with the debuff slowly killing him off after. Once the boss was dead, we cleared to the Shade of Xavius. Our first attempt on the Shade of Xavius didn't go so well, and we had yet another wipe. Just after the boss entered phase 2, the hunter was targeted by Feed the Weak and died. Not too long after this, the healer got hit by one of the swirls on the ground, which killed him instantly, and without a healer, the rest of the group slowly followed. As the boss was only at 23%, I thought I could try and solo him. However, there was a mechanic that I wasn't aware of in this fight at this time. This is that if Xavius gets hit by a swirl, he gains increased damage every time he's hit, which eventually overwhelmed and killed me. With everyone dead, fortunately no one left, and we ran back to try again. The second attempt didn't go much better, but we did manage to kill the boss. At around 25%, the Shaman healer got hit by the volcano from the affix while standing in a swirl, causing him to die again. Naturally, with the healer dead, the DPS slowly began to fall to the damage from the debuff and the Feed the Weak. However, me and the Demon Hunter DPS managed to stay alive for the rest of the fight and take down the boss. The key was overtimed by 11.5 minutes, with 29 deaths throughout the run. This still gave me rating, bringing me up to 877, but downgrading my key. I got no loot, and it wasn't until after the run that I noticed the hunter's damage was below mine, despite him being 15 item levels higher than myself. With my time running low, I had to decide between running LFR or another Mythic Plus dungeon. Since I'm playing a tank, the LFR queue can sometimes take a while, so instead I went to run my newest key, a plus 14 Black Rook hold. The start of the dungeon didn't go too well. I pulled the first pack of mobs and died almost instantly. I definitely do need more practice on the Vengeance Demon Hunter to get my defensives going more quickly. I ran back and we killed the pack and pulled the next pack. On this pack, the exact same thing happened again. I died just after pulling, right as I received a guild invite from a random player. I released and ran back while the rest of the group managed to kill the pack without me. I'm definitely starting to feel quite squishy at this key level. After these two initial packs, we killed the rest of the trash to the first boss without issue, and also killed the boss without any deaths arising. The next death occurred after clearing away the spiders whilst running up the stairs. The Moon King got hit by the Arcane Minion's explosion while the Ninth Dance was ongoing. We also lost the Monk Healer not much long after to the Arrow Barrage from the Risen Archer. Luckily, my self-healing was already built up by this point, so losing the healer wasn't too big of an issue for me. The Moonkin managed to regroup with us and help finish off the pack. We did have another set of deaths before the second boss, 2 pulls later, owing to a mixture of Arrow Barrage and Knife Dance and the Phased Explosion. On this pull we lost the healer again, which caused all of the DPS to fall not much longer after. With only one mob remaining and a couple of spiteful adds, I kited them back and finished off the remaining scout. This brought our total death count up to 8 before the second boss, but we cleared the rest of the packs without any issues. We quickly killed the second boss without any deaths and had 21.5 minutes remaining on the key. Whilst clearing out the floor with the Worm-Tongue Tricksters and Scavengers, we had 2 more deaths. These were the healer, who seemed to want to pull the next pack for me. He did get a combat res rather quickly, and then we also lost the druid not much longer after to the Spiteful Affix as he wanted to tank them with his face. Whilst climbing the second set of stairs with boulders, the druid got hit by one and died. Once we got to the top of the stairs, we gathered everyone and began the push up the gauntlet of bats and Felguards. The first 2 Felguards went down without problems, and I took the remaining mobs up to the top of the stairs into the next boss's room. However, the Fel Frenzy ability was not getting interrupted, and the mobs got too many stacks for me, which killed me. I did get combat res, but it was a little too late, and I couldn't get aggro before the rest of the group died, and I died once again not much longer after, bringing up our total death counts to 18. We released, ran back, and this time cleared the packs without any issues. We also managed to kill the third boss with no problems as well. Just after the third boss, we had 1 more death while climbing the stairs. The druid got hit by the Lancer's jump, which stunned him, and then let the second Lancer hit him. with the jump 2, which killed him. This part of the dungeon is quite narrow, so the spiteful affix here can also be a little bit annoying. On the final pack before the boss, the healer and druid both got hit by a lancer jump again, which stunned them, and then the next lancer repeated this action and killed the two of them. Despite this, we finished off the remaining pack and pulled the final boss. We managed to kill the final boss without issue and timed the key with 3.5 minutes remaining. This raised my key level again and my Mythic Plus rating up to a total of 1071. I didn't get any loot, however. The monk did not need his cape and he traded it to me, raising my item level up slightly to 433. To summarize this week, I raised my Mythic Plus rating from 321 to 1071, and my item level increased from 429 to 433. Overall, a good week. As I still have some dungeons I haven't completed yet, there is still much more easy raiding for me to get, but I would definitely like to raise my item level a little higher, as the 14 and 15s are starting to hurt quite a bit. That's all for this episode. If you did enjoy the video, please do give it a like, comment and subscribe, as it really does help out the channel. See you next time and have a good one.